You don't have to panic if you lost. It's only week 2. Name Coach here, Fantasy Smack Talk, sitting next to the boss, CEO, president, whatever fancy titles he wants to give himself, Dustin Barkley.
That's ridiculous.
So let's go ahead, and before we get into it, please tell these people about Daily Fantasy Leagues.
So I've never given myself any title, but let's talk about DraftKings. They're sponsoring us for the entire season. If you sign up using promo code FST, follow the link in the card or in the description, you will get an entry into a free cash game. Go ahead and get your feet wet with these daily games. See what all the hype's about. They are a lot of fun. And Brent does a weekly video where he can help you win.
Crushed it last
week.
week.
And he did have a really good week.
He even gave me kudos, which is very rare. All right, let's talk about going into week 2. Overreaction, as I was talking about, if you lost, it's okay. In the forums, we're seeing some crazy trade questions. Should I get rid of Odell Beckham for James Jones? I mean, God, no.
Wasn't in there.
Don't even think about that. It's that, Calvin Johnson was down, Adrian Peterson. It was a weird week. So just let it go. It'll stay the course. It'll come back to the mean. And if you can capitalize on this, then sure, go for it. But if you draft somebody in the first or second round, do not take a 6th, 7th, 8th rounder for these guys. It's nuts.
And it is not a bad time to be trying to buy some of those guys low. If you are 1-0 and you got some people that maybe had really good weeks week 1, maybe you throw a couple guys around and see if you can get some upside. Because there were a lot of top 20, top 30 guys that really just put out some stinkers week 1. So wouldn't be a bad idea to get some gambles out there. Let's get into those forum questions.
All right, I got one from Pat's fan 8711. Want you to pick one running back. That's Abdullah versus Minnesota at Minnesota. Randall, running back for the Cowboys at Philly. Or Jonathan Stewart home against Houston.
This one is extremely hard. One of the hardest things, especially, Randall, I think, a lot of his touches are going to come down to game flow and just how things are going and whether they're throwing the ball to Dunbar or getting McFadden in there or what they're doing. So Randall, obviously big upside, but you don't really know what's going to happen. Stewart's a little banged up, but he's going to get the majority of the touches. But Abdullah's the fun pick here. I think all these guys have very similar upsides, but Abdullah's the fun one. That's the one I'm going with. So they'd be my pick this week. And Minnesota's defense looked awful. Awful.
Yeah, Carlos Hyde, way to pull through for me.
All right, we got one from Finning 8-18-28. Pick one receiver, Golden Tate at Minnesota or Moncrief versus the Jets.
And again, this is a little bit of that overreaction I was talking about because people are kind of down on Golden Tate. But this is a little bit different, right? I'm assuming they're only asking this if T.Y. Hilton does not play. So I'm going to take that into consideration with this question. But out of the two, I'm still going Tate. I like Tate coming into the year. I do like his upside. I think if Hilton doesn't go, you're going to see a heavier dose of Frank Gore and Andre Johnson with Moncrief maybe being able to get some sneaky plays, but red zone, he's going to be looking down. Just too many options on the Colts. I don't think Moncrief takes the exact T.Y. Hilton role. That's why I am going with Golden Tate.
All right, next one.
I will be asking, young man. Comes from Bid. He thought it was wrong. You were going to question me. Comes from
So confused.
Bid Binary.
It's only week 2.
He wants to know which tight end he should be starting in a. I'm assuming it's a he. If it's a she, congratulations. Like when the females watch the show. In a PPR league. Wants to go Tyler Eifert versus San Diego or Martellus Bennett versus Arizona Cardinals. PPR league.
PPR definitely plays a big factor in this one. Eifert looked amazing week 1.
You love Eifert.
I do. I'm a big fan of Eifert. And, and I think he does have, very similar upside each week, but I do think he will be kind of a roller coaster ride. Bennett, especially in a PPR, is much safer. I like that you have both these guys. Eifert, I think, is a perfect sell high guy right now. If you look around the league and see if anyone is interested in maybe a tight end. But I just, you drafted Bennett as your tight end 1. I think you stick with him this week. The Bears have less options for who to throw the ball to. I just think Bennett's a safer play. So let's get into those duds, sleepers, and deep sleepers. Start with mine. I'm going with James Jones as my dud. Huge.
He's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week?
2 touchdowns on his 4 catches. He was a big pickup, obviously. Guy got 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers knows him. Aaron Rodgers trusts him. But I still just don't like him week to week. He's too much of a gamble. Don't go crazy. If you're in a 12, 14 team league, you picked him up, you're excited about him, sure, put him in your flex. But he is not a guaranteed start week to week. My sleeper's Pierre Garçon. I love this guy this week. Don't necessarily love the matchup, but I think the Redskins will be able to move the ball against the Rams. And it was only 2 years ago where he was, a top 10, I think, wide receiver. I mean, the guy was amazing.
Catches,
I mean, the guy's still good. He can still produce. Deshaun Jackson out. They're going to have to really just get creative, find ways to get the ball in his hand. I'm a big fan of him. And my deep sleeper is Shane Vereen going up against Atlanta. I know the Giants' offense did not look good week 1, but the Atlanta game should definitely, probably be more of a shootout. I think Vereen could definitely get a lot more involved. They did get him involved a decent amount week 1, but if it's more of a shootout, more passing going around, I think Vereen has a good week.
All right, my dud's a guy I didn't like coming into the year, ranked him real low week 1, and it paid off, and that's Amari Cooper. I understand this rookie's potential, I just don't like the Oakland situation, especially on the passing attack. He's a rookie that people are actually honing in on to make sure he's shut down early in his career. He just scares me against the Ravens. He's not a must-sit, but again, he's just kind of a scary guy. Sure, everyone can blow up, but he's my dud. My sleeper is going to be Charles Johnson, Minnesota receiver, against Detroit this week. I get it, right? He probably disappointed. A lot of people took him in the late middle rounds and was like, I got a great sleeper, nice sneaky PPR. It's
disappointed me.
But you know what? He's going to be all right. He only had 3 targets. I think that's nuts. I think that might be the lowest amount of targets he has all year. I can see a big bounce back game from this week. And just look at how many catches Keenan Allen had against Detroit last week. And they're, to me, similar-ish type players. All right, my deep sleeper is going to be Brandon Coleman, New Orleans Saints versus the Bucs. Here's the deal. The Bucs looked terrible on defense against the Titans last week. I absolutely love Drew Brees. I think I have him ranked as my second overall quarterback this week. And it's been a call that he did miss Jimmy. Did he not miss Jimmy? Did not convert in the red zone. But this is the guy that's going to take the Jimmy spot.
Big guy.
I think Coleman takes the Jimmy spot. They're going to work on that this week. And it's a good practice against a terrible Bucs secondary.
All right, let's take a look at Mike's picks. His duds, Frank Gore going up against a tough Jets defense. Gore couldn't get much going week 1. I mean, the Colts offense really couldn't get much going week 1. Not a good matchup week 2, so he's still kind of staying away from Frank Gore if you can. His sleepers, Terrence Williams. I mean, I already said it in my waiver wire show. Sorry, all you Des Bryant owners. Williams, Brent had him in 1. Williams has big shoes to fill, and he's not going to fill them, but they have to throw the ball to somebody. And he's definitely going to be the biggest beneficiary of that injury. And his deep sleeper, he's sticking with the Cowboys, Lance Dunbar. They definitely proved week 1, or just kind of gave us a preview week 1 of how they're going to use their running backs. I mean, Dunbar got no carries.
But if they're behind, they're going to be throwing him the ball. He's on the field if they're behind.
Any type of shootout. I mean, game against the Eagles, divisional game, those teams, they can have some shootouts from time to time. So Dunbar, definitely PPR leagues, fairly safe play this week.
Close us out.
If you got any questions, post them on forums. We have an app now. If you go to the App Store, just search Fantasy Smack Talk. You'll find it. Makes it nice and easy to get all of our articles and whatnot on the app. And if you want a how-to guide for how to win your league, you have the
Fantasy
iPad.
Football University.
Search for Fantasy Football University or get the Kindle app on your phone. Fantasy Football University. Download it. A lot of good info in there. Name code right here.
Nothing made me happier in my life than watching you do that.
I'll catch it.
Go for it.
I think that was worthy of a real clap.
He's going to keep all this.